is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Roddy, there he is. Ira, you know, for years I got tired of hearing about Tatum and Brown and how great the Celtics were going to be, and Brad Stevens' the second coming, and Danny Ainge built a dynasty and all that stuff, and got tired of it, never really crossed that threshold. They always come up short. Well, guess what? Maybe it took getting rid of Danny Ainge and moving Brad Stevens and getting the right coach in place.
Yeah.
But, they have arrived. They have matured, and they are ripe and ready. And we'll see if the Warriors now are, able to fend off the up-and-coming Boston Celtics.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Big O. When I watched Ime Udoka when he coached against the Heat in the previous series, you sort of saw the right coach for the right team. He reminds me a lot of Erik Spoelstra. Behind the scenes, he might be gruff and sort of let guys know this is how we do it. But in front of the players, he supports them. He tells them what to do. Harsh with his instructions, but realistic also. There have been a lot of really good coaching hires around the NBA in recent years. And the difference is Brad Stevens came in from Butler and the Cinderella story in the NCAA and his reputation, and that was going to be enough. This is a case of a former journeyman player who understands how hard it is and what it takes and how to work with players. He's a fantastic coach. Again, I always say this. I wish we could hold our awards ballots till the end of the playoffs, because that's when you really learn about people. And I think if we did, and we were voting for Coach of the Year, I think for all that Monty Williams did during the season, I think you would look at Ime Udoka and go, you know what? It took someone finally to get, like you mentioned, Big O, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart over the hump, and that means a lot also. And I have never, ever seen a fourth quarter like that in an NBA Finals game where, hey, let's face it, it was late. We were all wanted to go to bed. We thought the game was decided, and we said, I'll keep it on for a couple more minutes. There's 6 minutes to go. Look, they're not going to repeat that. No one is going to make 9 of their first 11 three-pointers of the fourth quarter. But they did that. They made it interesting. And I also think what they did against the Heat steeled them for that moment, that they went through adversity. They went through tough times. They went through a tough defensive team. And then like Marcus Smart said when he was mic'd, and they also knew that the three-pointers the Heat were going to miss, the Warriors were going to make, and it was going to take more. So I think the path for the Celtics through the Nets, who I was worried about, to be honest, then second round through the Bucks, and
I was working on Depends to be part of your sponsor there for as worried as you were about the Nets. I thought you needed Depends every time you went to the damn arena.
You know what? Sometimes it takes the right team to be the right matchup to put the right team in its place. Boston looks really good. And again, this East is loaded. The East, once Harden gets settled in and Maxey grows, the Sixers will be fine. The East, once the Bucks got Middleton back from his injury, they'll be fine next year. The Heat have shown they're not going anywhere. I mean, this East right now, you could shake them up in a bag 1 through 4 next season. That's not even including Brooklyn and what they finally might or might not realize. So again, I think it shows how the Eastern Conference is making strides. And you could almost say that the Warriors had a softer path through the Western Conference, which we've never heard before. And maybe they weren't ready for the moment because of that.
And by the way, here's another guy that's proven me wrong too. I when they made the trade, you got to get rid. I mean, Kemba's knee was shot, so I get it. But they get Al Horford, and I've always looked at Al Horford like a solid player.
Correct.
But I've always looked at him kind of passive, kind of nice. Yes. You know what I mean? And in a way, it kind of reminds me of Bam. And so I'm just talking about the passiveness, the niceness to it, you know. But that dude knows he's in the twilight of his career or something, but he has played with an edge, okay? We got Edge Energy Drink here on our show. Well, he has played with an edge. In that Milwaukee series, he hit the big shot towards the end there against the Heat. Last night, 6 of 8 from three-point range. The addition of Al Horford has been absolutely monstrous for this team.
And, you know, it's interesting you mentioned that here in our Acura Pembroke Pines report about Horford's career. I got to tell you, if Bam Adebayo can have Al Horford's career, That's fine. That's a really good player for a really long time and contributed. And I think, you hit something on the head there. When you said he sort of seemed Al Horford like a secondary kind of guy.
Yeah.
That's what he is. And that's what he's always been. And on these Celtics, if Jason Tatum is taking the attention he did last night, if Jaylen Brown is getting the attention he sure as hell did with the second half last night, if Marcus Smart is drawing attention just because of who he is, Al Horford's a fourth wheel. A really good fourth wheel who every now and then will have a moment. You know what? Let's look at Bam Adebayo in these playoffs.
He's had several moments. That's the thing about Al.
But
that's what I
let's
want to
look at
mention about Al. That I never really saw him as that clutch player like
But he could.
he has.
But you know what, Big O?
Yeah.
Bam Adebayo had moments in the playoffs. He had his 31 points in Game 3 against the Celtics. He had a big Game 7. Sometimes I think you have to temper what you want a player to be to what he is. And again, you and I, on our Acura Pembroke Pines reports, almost for a full year right now, talk about the Bam contract. And I get it. It's a salary cap league, and if one player takes this chunk, another player gets a lesser chunk. I'm with you on that, Big O. But if you remove the salary equation from it, forget about the money. Let Mickey Harrison spend in the tax. I'm going to give a rat's butt. He's doing just fine. And I just look at the players. Bam Adebayo is a really good player who does a really good job enough of the time to wear the label of star, just like Al Horford did for years. But the next level, that next step is always the hardest step. You know what, Big O? I'm going to ask you now.
But listen, one of the things that I've always said also is you can still win with Bam, even though he's paid max and he's not really a max player. You can still win with him. The bad part about the Heat equation at the moment is the Lowry salary, and that no one else has kind of stepped up to be either a Batman or a Robin to Jimmy, and that's the problem to me. You can win with Bam as long as everybody else around him can do their job, so you can kind of take that pressure off of him.
And here's the thing,
and
I
you
wanted
can
to finish with
compliment
this.
everybody.
And if Sean can tape this, I'm going to get your answer on this. Do you think Bam Adebayo ever will be an NBA superstar?
No.
Okay.
No, not anymore.
But maybe never was going to because of who he is. Max salaries do not equate to superstars. Everyone gets a max salary. Julius Randle has a max salary. It doesn't mean anything. You pay the market rate. Tyler Hero might get a max salary. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I think you have to start at a certain point in a career accepting a player for who they are. Again, is Kyle Lowry overpaid? You're damn right he's overpaid. Yeah. But at the moment that he made that deal, after being swept out of the first round by Milwaukee, they realized Goran Dragic, at his age, was not good enough to guide a team. Kyle Lowry had a good regular season when he was available. Just wasn't available a lot. Then in the playoffs, it showed. You'll see the measure of a man now. I think you'd agree with this, Orlando Alzugaray. Bam Adebayo wants to get better and is willing to do whatever it takes to maximize whatever his skills are. Would you agree with that?
Amen. He's a 100% character.
God bless him. I sort of see some of that in Tua also. Whether he has it or doesn't with the arm or whatever, you see a guy in Tua who's willing to do whatever it takes to maximize. That's all I ask. Here's the question. Kyle Lowry at 36 years old, is he willing to go back into the lab and grind like a son of a bitch? We have seen older players, Chris Paul, who absolutely work their ass off to stay there. Or is he at a stage right now where he says to himself, you know what? Good career, good team, a lot of golf down here. I'm happy, and I'm going to come back the same player as I was in the playoffs, and that's a huge concern. That's where your concern about spending that extra money really plays into it. So we're going to sort of see a makeup of the man and who you are. I have seen the LeBron James types. I've seen Dwayne Wade when he came back to the Heat. I saw Zoe after the Nets in Toronto when he came back to win a title. Guys realize as you get older, it takes twice the work, and it's really, really hard. It's like you and me getting up in the morning and the ascent of man at our ages. You know what? First couple of steps, not that easy. But are you going to grind and push through your day and maximize, or are you going to be content? If Kyle Lowry is content with what he showed in the playoffs, be worried, Heat Nation. Be very worried. But
I'm very worried as it is because the way he let himself go this year, there was no excuse for it.
There was.
The personal issues you can
when
stay
away from a basketball setting and going to
stay away from the drive-through,
like that for a month, it takes you away.
But you got to stay away from. But you got to stay away from the drive-through at least. No, you
I'm
can
not
have
going where you're going on that unless you know something I don't.
Well, I'm just saying, listen, I'm perpetually fat, so I know about this, man, and I've lost weight. But you've got to be able to. You're a professional basketball player. I get you had your personal issues, but dude, he had no personal issues the last couple of weeks of the
Let's
season
give him the
and throughout
benefit.
the playoffs.
You know
And I
what?
never
Let's
saw
give
the
him
man
the
lose
benefit of the
weight.
doubt this offseason. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. July 4th weekend, we will see him. He's going to Tahoe to play in that celebrity golf tournament, okay? So when he gets that driver out and he spins the torso, we'll see how those golf pants fit. And then we'll measure from there the rest of the offseason and hope for something better. Because, Big O, I think you would agree with this. If there's any team able to get him right, if there's any team able to push him right, if there's any godfather able to get a message hitting home, it's Pat Riley and it's the Miami Heat. Let's give the benefit of the doubt. You know what, Big O?
One more guy. You're missing one guy. One more guy. Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
That's his best friend, bro.
That's a very good
That's the
point.
godfather of his kid. You know, I have a couple of friends of mine that I've known for 40 something years. I can say anything I want to them. They can say anything I want to me. Jimmy Butler should be able to say anything to Kyle.
Yeah.
And he's got to say, hey, Kyle, dude, bro, I love you, man, but you got to lose weight, man.
And you know what? And Jimmy is so ripped that we will see Jimmy the entire summer with his shirt off. So Jimmy knows how to do that right. Now it's body type also. Tim Hardaway was never going to be Jimmy Butler. There's body types. You and I know it.
Notice Jimmy Butler spins the Michelob, doesn't drink it.
Aha. And even if he does, not a lot of carbs or calories. So he's drinking the right thing there anyway.
Michelob Light. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So I think he's doing okay there. So I understand where you're coming from. But that's the thing is I would say about a Bam Adebayo. I know the work ethic is there. I'm not going to shame him. I'm not going to question it. He will maximize, sort of like Dolphins fans are hoping Tua will maximize. But when you get older, you could also settle. And the players who get older and settle, they just fade away. I had one of my Ask Ira questions today at sunsentinel.com saying, could the Heat lose the Precious Achiuwa trade? Could Precious Achiuwa become a quality, sort of 3-and-D big man who winds up to be an NBA asset for 5 more years, and Kyle just fades into the sunset? You know what, Big O? It could happen. It could happen that 3 years ago, you and I are going, wow, he gave up something of quality, and now they got nothing.
I've watched him a couple of times offensively. I haven't seen that kind of skill set.
Well, his three-point shooting was excellent this season. So if he grows a little more, we'll see. So I agree. Matter of fact, you know what's funny? I did my report card at sunsentinel.com. I've rated the contracts. But you're probably right. When we're talking about player question marks going into the offseason, I would agree with you that Kyle stands as the number one offseason question mark for the Miami Heat, not Bam Adebayo. I would agree with that.
All right, so I was having fun with my boy Jordan Schultz, who does the pull-up pod with CJ McCollum. And so I was asking him about, what are the options for Miami? And I'll ask you the same questions. If Bradley Beal, for some maniacal reason, wants to stay in Washington, which, by the way, let's elaborate on this one right here for a second. I don't know if Miami wants Bradley Beal anymore. I don't know if you should want Bradley Beal anymore, because if Bradley Beal is happy being in Washington and being a big fish in a really small pond,
in a losing pond,
that there is no expectations for you whatsoever, and if you have your 37-7, but you lose, everybody's still happy with Bradley Beal, but they don't care about the team, and you want to walk into an organization, a franchise that has no expectations, no pressure. Well, then maybe Bradley Beal's not the guy you want.
Or Orlando, is he maybe just saying that because he knows he might wind up staying in Washington and you don't want to upset the fan base? So we've seen that plenty of times where guys will say, I want to grow with the team, but privately he's talking to Tommy Shepard in the front office and going, I want to win. I desperately want to win, and this isn't working. So we know the public face, but that might not be the reality face. And
that's all I'm saying is if he's really, truly happy with that.
Anyone who's content with losing is someone you have to look at twice. I totally agree. I don't know if his words and his actions are because of that or because sometimes you just stuck somewhere and you got to make the best of it.
Okay, so he's off the board. He wants to stay. Damian Lillard is 40 years old, whatever he is, 30-some years old. He's really up there. And he's got a $40 million deal. how much are you going to give up to fill up that salary, and how long could you sign him to, because you've already got a bunch of old guys. You're going to add more old guys who plays the same position as Lowry. That's kind of a little off too. Then we look at Donovan Mitchell. Okay, so Utah's going to get rid of their coach. They're going to trade Rudy Gobert, and they're going to let Donovan Mitchell go. And by the way, Ira, I'm thinking any shot that Dwayne Wade's a double agent for us.
I can't tell you how many times I've thought of that.
I'm thinking, maybe he went to Utah, so the idea of Mickey and him, okay, listen, you go take the Utah job, bring back Donovan Mitchell, and then we'll get you back on ownership here. I don't know what's going on.
Sort of like Kevin McHale with Kevin Garnett that you keep bringing up with me with the trade he made with the Celtics when he took care of Danny Ainge.
Yes, exactly. Only reason Danny Ainge has the title. But anyway, so I start looking around, and I was messing around with Jordan. I go, well, what about CJ? And he's like, no, he's got 2 years left in New Orleans, and he's happy there. And I'm like, happy in New Orleans? Although they did go to the playoffs, and they got a decent team. So what is the option? What is realistic? What move could Miami make if they wanted to find the Batman or Robin to Jimmy Butler?
I don't think in their salary cap position right now where they are, you're necessarily getting your number one or number two. You're getting someone else to complement and make your team stronger, which still matters. Again, Heat Nation wants. 2 years ago, they got Jimmy Butler, home run. Last summer, say what you want about the result, but they got Kyle Lowry. Home run, he was a prime free agent. I don't know if you hit home runs every year, but even someone like a Malcolm Brogdon who can defend and who can score, and Indiana's going to crap, and he makes your team better. Again, your Robin doesn't have to be the same Robin every game. If Jimmy Butler's the stud, the guy, the dude, like we saw in the playoffs, you can go through a week of 4 NBA games in a week where one day it's Bam Adebayo, one day it's Malcolm Brogdon, one day it's Tyler Hero. You can play that way, and even in the playoffs, we saw that.
Yeah, but in Game 7, you can't count on the part-time Robin to show up because now you're spinning the wheel, rolling the dice. Okay, which one of you guys are going to show up in Game 7? I'm not comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with Hardaway and Mourning. I'm comfortable with Shaq and Wade. I'm comfortable with the big three. I'm comfortable with multiple stud options in key moments of the series of the year. I don't think you can count on, the rotational wheel of, hey, who's going to be, the B player tonight.
That guy was supposed to be and still might have to be Kyle Lowry based on that price point of a 3-year, $85 million contract. You know what, sometimes you have to work around your mistakes as well. We just all do. And I think that's where the Heat are. If it's a mistake, or unless, like we spoke about at the top here for Acura Pembroke Pines report, unless Kyle comes back, you got to be realistic with what you have. There are nice players available in deals. Maybe as simple as the Duncan Robinson in a first-round pick can get you a Malcolm Brogdon. You will be a better team then. You're probably looking for a reserve as long as Kyle is here because you're starting Jimmy, you're starting Kyle, and you might be starting Tyler Hero as well, unless you do the big blockbuster trade involving Tyler Hero. So I think it's more of a case of you have to find the right fit to get better. Again, you were the number 1 seed in the conference. You were 1 3-point shot from going to the NBA Finals. Based on how the Warriors looked last night, you might have won an NBA title. You don't always have to swing for the fences, because when you swing for the fences and take that kind of swing, you strike out a lot. Yeah. I don't think the Heat are all or nothing this offseason. They are right there with Boston. They are right there with Milwaukee. They are right there with Philadelphia. They should be right there with Brooklyn. So now you just try to be your best selves.
Oladipo, what happens with him? What's his agenda? Because obviously, is it about money and go play for a lesser team and be the guy? Or is he going to try to win and stay with either the Heat or another organization that's an upper echelon organization?
Yeah, I'm writing about this.
Will not give him the money.
I'm writing about this in the Sun Sentinel for Monday. And the thing is, I think Victor Oladipo wants to be a starter and go back on that track. I do not see that happening here. Right now, Tyler Hero came out and said he wants to start. So if you're starting Hero and you're starting Butler and you're starting Lowry, the job simply is not there right now. And that's taking away a 3-point threat from your starting lineup. So Victor Oladipo, I think, sort of has to have us come to whatever moment you want to call it and say, you know what? I could be a nice mid-tier player on a contender and continue to grow. Eric Spoelstra was very interesting. He said, you're going to see a better, much better Victor Oladipo in camp sort of intimating it's Heat camp, but not saying it's Heat camp. Vic will be better than he was this season because this will be his first true offseason to work. He's a great work ethic. He was down in Miami. He owned a gym at one point in Miami in the offseason, was working. I could see him going to the Knicks or somewhere like that, trying to get a starting job, trying to get back in the limelight, and trying to get a little bit more money. Again, the whole money thing throws me off for this reason. Victor Oladipo did play for the minimum this year, about $2.3 million for his 8-year tenure. But the previous 4 years, he made $20 million. So he's made his $80 million already. But as you know, these guys measure their worth in salary, for better or for worse. So if someone's willing to offer the 10.6 mid-level, I think he's gone.
So the only thing I was thinking of is, and if whether Spo meant camp, his camp, or somebody else's camp, if you do elevate Tyler, it does become an elevation for Oladipo if he has a chance to be the sixth man of the year this time around, because then that gives him six man. You play pretty much starters minutes as it is.
As Tyler Hero did, but it's the ego thing of being a reserve at 30 years old and having been a former all-star starter. I think Vic still views himself as that. Again,
but would you rather be a starter on a team that probably is not going to go to the playoffs and is terrible, or a sixth man? Like,
there have always been guys like that in our league who said, you know what, if I can score 24 points a game and I'm on a loser, hey, I'm going to be an all-star. Every Sacramento King in history, guys like that. Last summer, Victor Oladipo fired his agent when his agent told him, I probably can only get you a minimum. He hired another agent, wound up at the minimum anyway. So I think in Vic's eyes, after he switched agents last summer, he's expecting something more. I think that he can go up to the taxpayer mid-level. Again, they're a bird team, so they don't have to pay that actual exception. They could just do it in cash. If Vic will play for $6 million, if he'll play maybe for the $7 million that PJ Tucker took this year, I think it can make it work. And I do agree with you, Orlando Alzugaray. If you're starting Hero and you're starting Butler and you're starting Lowry, then Victor Oladipo is the perfect sixth man because he could be a point guard, he could be a shooting guard, he could be a scorer, he could be a defender. So I think it's all up to him up here, whether mentally he can deal with that. He can fill a very important Heat role very well, but does he still view himself as an all-star?
He can easily be an all-star if he goes out there and kicks ass as a sixth man, but that's interesting. By the way, going back to the Celtics and Ime, because obviously we talk a lot of football on this channel too, and we see that this league is it struggles to move forward and to adjust in life and to do the things that you're supposed to do to create equal opportunities for everyone. It's really nice to see that the NBA is not just progressive but productive, because half their league is what, minorities as head coaches.
And huge upgrade in black hiring of coaches. Yes.
And well, I mean, Spo's a minority himself too, by the way. So, but I'm just saying that the way you look at it, it's nice to see that they're getting rewarded, and maybe other leagues should look at this. You have to have the patience, you have to have the commitment, and you have to have the balls to go out there and do the right thing sometimes. You know what I mean?
And you have to have the pipeline of allowing people to grow as lead assistants and give them the opportunity. It just doesn't start at the top. It starts working your way up. For all these people who want to bring Mark Jackson back out of the broadcast booth or Kenny Smith, the guys who have thrived in this league have grown. Monty Williams as an assistant, Ime Udoka as an assistant. You're seeing more of that. Those are the guys because the pipeline is real. This ain't the Rooney Rule. This ain't the let's pretend then let's hire. This is we are going to develop a pipeline of quality of all races by giving all races the opportunities. So you get to a point like this and no one's raising a question. And no one's saying it's because of quote or anything.
It's because it's normal in the NBA.
Yes.
That's why. It's normal for us to see the NBA do the right thing.
And it's happening more in the front office also, which we don't see as often in the NFL. The Dolphins obviously being an exception there. And so it becomes the norm. God, if society was just that way, where it was just the norm and you weren't talking about quotas or we got to do this or have a Rooney Rule, it just makes it so much easier. So right now you see an Ime Udoka and you go, I don't even remember him as a player. And then you say, but I'll remember him as a coach.
Yep, exactly. No, I just I thought it was really cool. And I think it's something that we should talk about, because obviously,
Sure.
the biggest league in this country struggles to actually do the right thing and how to develop. And these guys did it without, like you said, without
Forcing
any
the issue.
Rooney
Yeah.
rule, without
Yeah.
any fake things like that. It was like, we're just going to do the right thing.
Genuine. Yes.
And it's good to see everyone have an opportunity in the NBA, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like or what nationality or anything. So it's just it's really, really cool. All right, Ira, what are you working on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friend?
Just posted a story this morning on Gabe Vincent, how last season, the start of the season, Eric Spoelstra was given two options. You could sign a veteran point guard in Jeff Teague, or you could bring in Markieff Morris. Spoelstra felt he had enough at point guard. He brought in Markieff Morris. That might not have worked out so well, but Gabe Vincent really did. And now he's growing. And I think people right now aren't, like I had for years, looking at backup point guard and going, the Heat are in trouble. I feel totally comfortable with Gabe Vincent in that role. Also working on my Sunday column, how if Tyler Hero is a starter, it will represent a seismic shift for the Miami Heat, because it puts Max Strus back on the bench, pushes Duncan Robinson further down the hierarchy. You have that. It sends a signal to Victor Oladipo, you will not be a starter, and it changes the rotation dramatically. So what Tyler Hero might want, typically NBA Six Men of the Year do not become starters. Jordan Clarkson a year ago was Six Man of the Year, started one game this year. Montreal Harrell 2 years ago was Six Man of the Year, started 4 games since. So it's not automatic you're Six Man of the Year. Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford were career Six Men after winning the award. So it's going to be interesting. What Tyler Hero wants might not be best for what the Miami Heat need. And I think his comment, I want to be a starter next year, is going to have to be something that Eric Spoelstra really will have to massage through. And we'll get to that a little more Monday in our next Acura Pembroke Pines report.
Yeah, I think the only threshold left for Tyler is you got to play defensively up to the point to be a starter. And
if he
had
can.
and by the way,
Crawford and Lou Williams couldn't and accepted what they were.
Right. And he did improve this year. So I'm going to give Tyler a little love. He did improve. He did make an effort to be a better defensive player.
True.
But if he's going to be a starter,
right.
The Heat have already compromised with the weight stuff with Lowry, and I hope they get back on track here. You can't compromise the disposition of that entire franchise since Riley took over. You got to defend, dude.
Sure.
If you can't
Absolutely.
defend, you're not really a Heat player. So, all right. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Catch his work at the Sun Sentinel and subscribe, please, like I and many others do. Ira, have a fantastic weekend. Stay dry, my friend.
I'll be back from my Rangers game from Tampa on Monday for our next Acura Pembroke Pines report. Thank you, Big O.
You got it. There you go. Wow, that is good. That's a nice trip. See the Rangers and the Lightning. And by the way, congratulations to the Lightning. The atmosphere that they have built there for their team and their games. If you've never been to a Lightning game, like go before a Lightning game. Go check out that atmosphere. Not just because it's the Stanley Cup, or in this case, obviously the Eastern Conference Finals, or obviously you're always going to have a buzz for that. But the bars and everything around there, it's actually a really, really cool atmosphere that Tampa Bay's done. All right, that is our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report.